filmmakers Mason Charles and Nick Nelson had $10,000 to make a shoe commercial. And during the ideation phase, they stumbled upon this, an Xbox Kinect from 2013. And they found that if you use it in just the right way, it creates an effect that's kinda sick.
We were like, that's kinda sick. Incorporating such a random tool that's also very specific in the look that it gets, like that. Anything you see where the runner is fully white and kind of looks like a nanoparticle type thing, most of what we shot was on a black void with like fog and the light flashing and like the leaf blower from Home Depot blowing his hair. You have to buy a program called TouchDesigner. So you gotta make sure it's not the 360, it's the second version, which is the Xbox One. And then you basically plug it right into your PC. We were just trying to get a bunch of texture that our editor could play with, and I think so much of it is like buried in the edit in such a good way, like it's like layered so well.
Yep, we're gonna show you how he used this now obsolete piece of gaming technology to capture anything in this digitized aesthetic. But more than that, I think this episode is a little peek into the formative years of a cinematographer.
If I view my career as like a book, I very much feel like I'm in like chapter 1 or 2 right now. You know, like I'm mid-20s, like figuring it all out, really just within the last couple of years started to call myself a DP. Sometimes I feel like I haven't earned that title yet, you know?
Believe me, man, we know. But no, dude, this morning I woke up, like the last shot in the video where the guy kind of comes to in a panic, it almost seems like that was me this morning for some reason. I had
Really?
this dream that I like was at the top of this cliff and I dove into this pool and I never reached the bottom. Yeah. So then I just started like swimming up and then I could never reach the top of it. Jeez. And then I just couldn't breathe. And then I woke up literally like feeling like I was having a heart attack.
Dude, that sucks. That's brutal.
It happens, you know, it happens to the best of us. So when I watched that piece this morning again before, you know, I break it down with you, I was like, oh, look, that's basically me this morning.
Yeah, you literally had a fever dream this morning.
I had a fever dream, yeah. Well, Mason Charles, welcome to the podcast. It's really great to have you today, man.
Thanks, man. I'm stoked to be here. Very honored.
I saw this piece you did called Desert Dreaming for Janji, and I have questions. I mean, it's sick, but I have questions.
Let's go. I'm down to break it down with you.
To lose yourself in the burning sand as the skies unfold and logic comes undone is to enter another plane of existence where your dream ends and the desert's dream begins. Where your dream ends and the desert begins.
So give me some context on this project here.
So my buddy Nick Nelson, the director, he originally, we were at a coffee shop and we were scouting for a different project. And he just got a call from Janji. They had an idea. They wanted to like do kind of like a social media shoot. And Nick is kind of in this like weird starting over stage in his career where he had been building a different production company for the last 5 years. And now he just sold his shares and he's out on his own starting a new production company called Stack Studios. Cool. And so Nick really wanted to just, you know, kind of invest in some portfolio work. And so, you know, Janji didn't even come to us with this idea. They kind of wanted more just like social content. But Nick was really the one that was like, hey, I want to make something for my portfolio. I want to go all out. And then, Nick and I just started throwing ideas on a Milanote and, you know, just kind of wanted to see what sticks. So
tell me what you guys were going for, narratively, aesthetically, just paint this picture for me for what your goal was. What did you want the viewer to feel?
Yeah, so kind of the idea that we landed on after sharing just a bunch of ideas was Nick really wanted to push this towards kind of like almost like a fever dream sequence where Jamil, the runner in this video, he's kind of like in a fever dream. You know, he's like running an ultra marathon. He's on the trail. He's asleep, and this is all like the crazy self-doubt, just insanity that's going on in his brain. Where then eventually at the end he wakes up just to realize that he's just desert dreaming at the end of it.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's a great concept. But what was your guys' approach to shooting it and delivering it stylistically?
Yeah, so I think as we were, we got like 5 or 6 meetings just at these cafes, and we would just open up Milanote and start like throwing Instagram posts that we had saved or things from FrameSet or just like Pinterest or, whatever, wherever our references were coming from. And we just started throwing all these, like basically vomiting all these ideas onto a Milanote board. And then through that, it kind of started to take shape. And one thing that we saw was this guy, he shot a concert on an Xbox Kinect. And so we were like, that's kind of sick. And I think we kind of like sent it to each other jokingly at first. And then the next time we chatted, Nick was like, dude, I bought the Kinect. Like I figured it out. Let's do it, And so I think really in incorporating such a random tool that's also very specific in the look that it gets, I think that kind of informed a lot of like the black and white, as well as also informing the way that the VFX house approached their visual effects too. And so I think, yeah, just through incorporating that, that's kind of maybe the path that we went down.
I love that. I mean, for those who don't know, the Xbox Kinect is a 2010 piece of hardware that Xbox had, so you can basically control games with your body and your voice instead of a controller. And it had a good run. But it's so interesting to for you to find something like this and use it today. I mean, what shots in here are shot with that Xbox Kinect?
Yeah, so we shot way more with it than what we actually used in the final cut. And so when you so this main section right here is primarily with the Kinect. Anything you see where Jamil, the runner, is fully white and kind of looks like almost like a nanoparticle type thing, that's what the Kinect is shot with.
Got it.
And so, yeah, like that shot right there, a lot of that stuff. And then,
so
I think also our editor and VFX house did such a great job too, because when I saw the final cut, I honestly was like, I'm not even sure what's Kinect and what's, the Alexa and what's the FX3, just because I think they blended it all so well together. And then our colorist as well did too, so.
So you have a YouTube presence, which I love, and
Thanks.
You made a tutorial about how you basically use the Xbox Kinect to get this very specific, very cool look.
Something that we found while we were shooting was if you actually hit the camera on the Kinect, it'll kind of make it look like whatever you're shooting is exploding. And so we did that a bunch and it looked really cool.
Can you do that for us here and now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I have to give props to Nick because like I said, we kind of were thinking of doing this as a joke, and then next time we met, he had already gone ahead and done it, and he figured it out. But what he did was he bought an Xbox Kinect 1 on eBay. So you got to make sure it's not the 360, it's the second version, which is the Xbox One. And then on top of that, you have to use a PC because I think there's some sort of issue with using it on a Mac. And then you basically plug it right into your PC you have to buy a program called TouchDesigner. And then in TouchDesigner, you could use the free version, but I think it records 1080, but we wanted to shoot in 4K. So then in TouchDesigner, that's where you kind of get that crazy like nanoparticle look, as well as do the actual recording. So it's kind of like what we're doing now. Like we plug the iPhone in and then that's our, webcam. It would basically be like using an Xbox Kinect as your webcam and then using TouchDesigner as the kind of like as the recording device.
Got it.
And then on top of that, we also bought this like kind of like plugin pack for TouchDesigner from a guy called Nicholas PJM. I can give you the link to that too, but it basically just kind of gives it that like crazy black and white like nanoparticle look. So
that's sick. I mean, you kind of said it before. There's so many different methods that you guys used in post to bring this thing together and make it feel so cohesive. I mean, even your titles at the very end feel the same way, right?
Right.
I think we've got a question from the audience. Zach Patrick, his big question was about VFX. What did you do during shooting to set you up for success in post for
Yeah.
VFX?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, yeah, I think it was a bit different than the way that I'm used to working. But a lot of the times, Nick would, as we were setting up a shot, he would call or FaceTime the VFX house just to kind of like make sure, hey, is this something like when it was a specific shot, like if you go back to the shot where he's running and it kind of goes in the circle, that was
Favorite
one
shot, by
where
the way.
thanks, man. That was one we knew like in pre-production, like this is exactly what we're doing. But we just, with shooting like the lights flashing and his hair blowing and all the other shots, we knew that would probably be a VFX nightmare. So for this one, we called our VFX house, which is Stockyard VFX. They're a newer VFX house. And yeah, we just chatted with them like, hey, what would be the best thing as we're shooting practically so that you can do this effect in post? And they knew what the effect was that we wanted in post, as well as Nick. We had talked extensively about specifically what that shot was going to look like. And so, as you can see, most of what we shot was on a black void with like fog and the light flashing and like the, leaf blower from Home Depot blowing his hair. But for that shot in particular, we put up just like a white ultra bounce behind him, kept the light steady. We didn't have it flashing or anything like that. We kind of let the fog settle and we didn't blow his hair. And we just shot a bunch of plates of him doing his run. And then in VFX, they were able to key him out a bit more. And then they really did a great job. Like, I would believe that shot is shot on the Kinect because it matches so well with the stuff shot on the Kinect. So I think it's like just a testament to the whole team. But yeah, that's my favorite shot too, for sure.
Yeah. When I saw this, I was like, okay, cool. We're doing something special here.
Thanks, man.
Another one of my favorites is this one here. I know you're not the VFX artist here, but can you break this down to me as to pose of like exactly what was shot in camera and how much was done if in VFX? Is this a Xbox Kinect shot?
So that's on the Alexa, and that actually was done primarily pretty practically too. We shot that, and pretty much we would shoot one plate at each location in this same way. But what we did was we dropped the shutter down to 3 frames per second, and then we cranked the shutter speed to 360. And then we just like, put a bunch of ND on. But basically when you shoot it like that, and then you play it back in 24 frames per second, you just get these like crazy textures. And so we did that too. Even when he's waking up, you'll see a similar effect. It's used for like half a second, just as like it cuts from his eye. All of a sudden there's like a quick little cut of him shaking his head to then him waking up. But yeah, we did a bunch of those 3 frames per second type deals.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, what a great technique. You see it a lot, but I think this was a really unique way to use it, for sure.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we were just trying to get a bunch of texture that, our editor could play with and just, I think so much of it is like buried in the edit in such a good way. Like it's like layered so well. And so even when I watched it back, I was like, wait, did we shoot that practically, or is that a VFX? I honestly, I didn't really know until I had watched it 30, 40 times what was what. So yeah,
I bet it felt good. Anytime I'm on a shoot and I'm shooting that more textural stuff, I mean, yeah, some of it is very intentional, like this circle shot that you have, and some of it is just like, let's just fill the bank, right?
Yeah.
And I know for me, when I walk away and I know that my bank is full of stuff that I can rely on to help bring the piece together, it's always a good feeling. And it seems like you guys did that here.
Yeah. Yeah, we tried to do a ton. Like even on our location scout on day one, we brought the camera with too. And a lot of those like cactus close-ups are from our location scout. I did kind of the same thing. We used like a macro lens, just chucked the lens right up next to the cactus, and then did the 3 frames per second thing. Used a little like, ghost filter, prism lens effects. And yeah, we were just having a good time at the end of the day.
Let's get into some of these desert scenes because they're sick. They're awesome.
Thanks.
Was this 1 day, 2 days? How did you guys fit into the schedule, and what was your approach to having a crew and your runner out in the desert like this?
Yeah. Yeah, so we had 2 days. It was one scout day slash pre-light. So on the first day, we did our scout and our pre-light and basically building the Black Void. We shot this in Phoenix, and I was coming off of another job in Moab straight into this one. Nick drove, and Alex, our gaffer, also drove with his package.
Cool.
So our first day was shooting primarily in that Black Void, and then our second day was doing like all the outdoor stuff out
Got
the
it.
back of the truck. Having that like first day to scout was super helpful, and like I said, we were very scrappy, very low budget on this. And so Nick's grandma was selling her house in Phoenix, and so we had this free garage that we used, and we just bought a bunch of like black sheets, black duvetine. We spent the day, taking out all the crap from the garage, putting, like hanging the sheets, laying them on the ground, setting up the lighting, just making sure that it looked the exact way that we wanted it to. And then also, we spent the day, also, like I said, location scouting. It's very hard. You'd be surprised. It's so hard to find like the exact desert spot that you want to shoot in. You think it'd be easy, but it genuinely took like all day, and we found it like right at sunset. So I'm thankful that we got a dope spot that we could shoot. But
I'm seeing like, explain this to me, man. I'm seeing like two different drones. Obviously, you guys use drones, but what was your approach to that?
so for the intro shot, that was an FPV drone, and that was our FPV drone operator, Randall. So he brought his kit. It has a little, I don't know the exact model, but it has kind of like a Sony ZV-10, I think is what he had on top of it.
Cool.
And so, just some funky glass, kind of wide. And we shot a bunch of passes of Jamil running on top of that ridge line, so you could see like the big cloud brewing overhead. And then, so that was just for that quick one shot. And then the other drone was the Inspire, I think it was the Inspire 1. And so then what we did with that was kind of for shooting the, practical Black Void sequence where he's running through the desert. And so for that one, I think Randall actually 3D printed a mount that held this like 150 watt light onto the drone. And then we just put it right out of frame, right over Jamil as he's running. And yeah, it was crazy. It looked really cool, and it kind of sold the idea of him like actually running in a Black Void. And I think it cut really well with like the garage stuff that we shot as well. Yeah, it was fun. I was stoked. We were kind of taking a risk, and the light was perfect. I mean, it was so bright. It was exactly what we needed. So it came out nice. And for that, we had like a Ronin 2, and Nick was holding it out the back of his truck. And then I was operating the remote head as Jasmine was pulling focus.
Nice, nice. Yeah, what was your crew like for this? Obviously, you said you had a focus puller, and you as a DP were operating. You have your director.
Yeah, it was pretty scrappy. We had Nick, he was directing. We had me DPing. Alex was our gaffer. Jasmine was our AC. Randall was FPV / drone light. We had, for a few hours, we had my friend Christian come through and do some behind the scenes. And then we had Jamil, our runner, and then the in-house content producer, Kyla. Oh, and Evan was our photographer as well.
There's this one shot in here of our homie just falling backwards into the water. Let's break this down. How did you guys pull this off?
So like I said, we were keeping it pretty scrappy. Everyone was pitching in. So we borrowed some underwater housing from my friend Ethan, who I shot a project in Japan with. And so we had done a bunch of underwater housing stuff there. And so for this, we used an FX3 with a 35 millimeter lens, and then we had some Salty Surf water housing. And then Nick jumped in the pool and like tarped out the back of it. And also
Cool.
like I said,
Okay.
this was the first week of January, and the pool was not heated, and Nick is like the most dedicated guy I've ever worked with. So he was in that pool for like 20 minutes, just like tarping it. We had sandbags. for genuinely like a half-second shot. And then as far as lighting goes, we had two 1200s just like hitting him super focused right on where he was.
Yeah.
I kind of like had the rig in the water. And then Jamil was just doing a great job of, acting like he was sinking or drowning.
Yeah, again, your black void top light aesthetic achieved here now in a third, fourth different setting. I think it's really good what you did there. It's really smart. How do we take this aesthetic that we want and apply it to all these different environments? You've done that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was fun. We were playing around with doing a couple different looks. We liked the black void, but for this we were originally thinking of shooting it red. But we just lost like so much output on the lights when they were in that red color. And so I think when we got there, we were like, let's just keep the whole project black and white, Let's scrap the red, maybe a little bit too on the nose. So I'm
Yeah.
stoked that we did that. I think it looks better, fully black and white.
Speaking of color, I noticed that it's technically not full black and white, or my monitor is playing tricks on me.
Yeah, so Dan Edwards was our colorist. It was my first time working with him, but Nick has worked with him a ton. And yeah, I mean, on the day of, what I would do each night was I would take the footage and kind of just do some like daily grades myself, just to kind of like shape the direction that we wanted to go, which was very high contrast, very like crushed shadows and almost like clipped highlights type of look. Lots of grain, lots of halation, all that good stuff. And then Dan just totally took it to the next level for the final color. I think the reason it doesn't look fully black and white is because the halation actually does have a little bit of color in it. And so does the grain. And so I actually like how that looks in this project, because I think it gives it a little bit more, like, it kind of gives maybe a little bit more of a unique look to it where you're not really sure what it is, until it's explained.
Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, he crushed it. Dan crushed it for sure.
What was your budget for this?
So this was 10K. And like I had said earlier, it wasn't like John G came to us and was like, here's the concept, like we need you to do this like $100,000 idea for 10K. It was more, I want to like give them props and make sure that people know that. It was more like they had come to Nick and Nick was in this like new adventure in life and just really wanted to invest in something. So he just put all of his budget and really took the idea to the next level so he could pay his friends and give everyone a little bit of cash. But yeah, it was scrappy, man. Like everyone just kind of donated like camera packages, their drones. Everyone got paid, but it was definitely like a group of friends coming together under Nick's vision to make something that we're all just stoked on. I think it's cool too, like on something like this when it's so VFX heavy and so like edit heavy. I think when you are the DP, you are just you're a cog in the wheel, right? Like you are just a part of like a greater purpose, and like it takes a village. And so I'm like, I wish you were interviewing the whole team right now. I think it's like
Yeah.
everyone really rolled up their sleeves and got their hands dirty, and Nick led the charge. And so yeah, we were just excited to make something that we're all proud of, and I think everyone is very proud of it. So
Let's talk about you a little bit.
yeah, I mean, so yeah, this project is like, it's been great. It just came out, not too long ago, but I think it's getting some love. Like, obviously being here talking to you is awesome. Have some stuff coming up with another brand as well. Like, if I view my career as like a book, I very much feel like I'm in like chapter 1 or 2 right now. Like I'm mid-20s, like figuring it all out, really just within the last couple of years started to call myself a DP. Sometimes I feel like I haven't earned that title yet, But yeah, man, I'm just like hungry to grow, to keep making stuff like this that, give us 10K, we'll make it look like 100K. Give us 100K, we'll make it look like a million, just have that like go-getter, trailblazing mindset. I think that's the type of people that I love working with. And yeah, I just want to keep growing. Would love to do like more commercials, more narrative, more docs, and just see where that takes me. So
Sick, man. Well, I'm stoked to see what you do as a cinematographer. I'm stoked to see what you do as a filmmaker, as a homie. Thanks again for this.
Thanks, man. Very thankful. I've watched the podcast a ton, and I thought it was a fake message when I got it. I was like, dude, there's some legends on here, man. So I'm excited.
Now, listen, there's two kind of episodes to this darn podcast, and one is the, oh my God, look at how this impossible big budget thing was done by this, bigger than life person, right? And then there's the, hey, here's Mason, and he's doing some really freaking great work, and he may be on the more earlier side of his journey, but he made this lightning in a bottle project. How? And I think both are inspiring.
No, that's awesome. Super thankful. Thanks again, for real.
Ever wonder how top directors make treatments like these? There's a few ways, but an important one is showing the right reference images. And I don't mean what you can search for in a web browser or screen capture on your phone. Finding those absolutely perfect reference images, in my opinion, is made easiest with FrameSet. Skip the painful, messy, time-consuming search process. They've got tools for that. It will cost you nothing to get started, so try it out.